Confidence is key when it comes to selling your services, building a business, because you're going to have to do a lot of things that you're unsure about. And most people aren't willing to do things without a clear, sure outcome if they don't have any confidence in their own abilities to execute or their own abilities to get back up if they get knocked down. So I don't know how someone builds a business without leaning into building their confidence, because you need it to be successful.
I'm Melanie Barr. Welcome back to the She Built It podcast, your go-to place to empower you to live the life and business that you crave. I'm here to talk about everything from having the courage to make life and career leaps to the details of how to lead effectively, create successful teams, implement strategies for growth, and infuse tech innovation. I'm here to celebrate your wins and navigate through your challenges. I live in the city now, but I grew up in a town of 1,000 people. I've navigated major life leaps, a senior level corporate career, worked in professional sports, and now as a successful entrepreneur who loves business, technology, family, and making meaningful connections with you and the She Built It community. I also love a good workout and dose of self-care. Magic happens when we focus on the part of ourselves and our business that brings us joy. So turn up the audio, open your favorite notes app, grab your favorite drink, and here we go. Welcome to the She Built It podcast. Thank you for joining us, Pia. Share with us the moment that you realized the traditional branding agency model didn't align with your vision and what sparked the creation of Worstofall Design.
They were two completely separate experiences. So Worstofall Design started because my then boyfriend and fiance was a graphic designer and an artist, and he was getting freelance work, and he was not doing a great job at actually finding and managing the work, but he was brilliant at actually delivering. So at some point I just said, you know what? I think I could go find you the clients and I could manage the projects. And that way you could do what you do best. And I feel like I would be better at this part of it. So that's what started Worstofall Design. We just said, you know what? We want to work for ourselves. I was doing gig work to begin with. So I said, well, I might as well just find clients for you and then we can keep all of the money. So that's how we started Worstofall Design. And the name comes from my married name. His last name is Worstofall. It's Dutch. So it was his nickname as a stoner artist in college.
Did I pronounce it wrong?
Worstofall. No. It's Worstofall, but our company is Worstofall Design.
Okay.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I thought, I
say Worstofall? I used to have clients, like they'd work with us for a while and they'd come in and then it would click for them. And they'd go, oh my gosh, is it Worstofall because of Worstofall? And I'm like, yes. They're like, oh my gosh, I just got it. And I just loved the look on their face when they put it all together. So we would just let people figure that out. So that's how we started the business. How I realized the way we were doing it, the old default agency model was not for us. I wish I could say I had some sort of revelation on my own, but it was really because we found ourselves in $40,000 of debt and totally maxed out on our credit cards. And we're trying to figure out, we're working so hard. Our work is really good. Our clients are really happy and we're actually generating a lot of income. So why are we in debt and struggling to pay our bills and overworked? And that's when I realized something about this is not working. Of course, I wasn't so calm, cool, and collected at the time. I was sobbing on the kitchen floor going, oh my God, this doesn't work. But that's where that revelation came from.
It's great that the two of you can come together and that you have different skill sets, because so often people come together and they have the same ones. And it seems like you have a really good balance in that way.
Yeah, it has worked out, especially because in those moments, I have a very business-minded, often black and white thinking, right? Like there's a right way to do this. I'm very goal-oriented. And in that moment, I thought, this isn't working and the whole thing needs to burn to the ground. And he was like, we're actually doing a really good job. Like, it's just not working this way. Maybe we should just look at different other options for ourselves. And that's how we ended up figuring out that this intensive model that we do was way more profitable, way more enjoyable, and ended up being not only the way that we succeeded in that agency, but ended up being the core reason that I have the training company I have now to teach this very specific model to other people. So having that creative brain in my corner saying, hey, Pia, all is not lost, and you don't need to shut your whole business down because something didn't work is really crucial for me.
Your tagline is bold and unapologetic. What does that philosophy mean to you, and how has it shaped the way you approach branding for your clients? And share with us how you work with your clients.
Yeah, the way that we work with our branding clients is We do entire branding and website projects, and we deliver them only in this intensives model. So we'll do an entire brand website, the strategy, the copy, the messaging, the identity materials, and we'll work with the client over a 1 or 2 day period, and that's it. For that, we charge $40,000 to $60,000. And the way we're able to do that is because we have this step before that called a brand shrink. People pay us to interview them, understand everything about their business, understand where they are now, where they want to go, and give them a clear strategic plan on how to go from A to B. And through that process, we build a ton of trust. We get to the heart of what their issue is, and then we give them a super clear solution that we can then execute in this intensive. So because of this two-step process, and the kind of relationship we develop through it, we essentially do the whole project ahead of time so that we spend that 2-day intensive getting them on board, showing them work, making tweaks in real time, and such that the whole thing is done by 6 p.m. at the end of day 2. So that's how we work. It's very specific. It's pretty unique. And when I say bold and unapologetic, I mean, I had to learn to be bold and unapologetic when I went out into the world selling Worstofall Design when I had no idea what I was selling because I inherited this nickname from my husband. I was just like trying to find my way in the world. And I learned over time how valuable it was to be bold and to own it and say, actually, I had a lot of people when I would network say, why would you want to be worst of all? And shouldn't you be best of all? And I started to learn how much this was getting attention. It was getting people to engage with me, and they would see our work and be like, oh my God, this is amazing. And then it would all come together. They'd go, oh, wow, you really caught my attention. You really stood out, and you did all of that without saying. We help you stand out. And so the whole thing just clicked. So I learned through personal experience just how powerful it is to be bold and to be something that some people aren't going to get or aren't going to like, because it naturally magnetically attracted our ideal clients. And those people are so fun to work with.
Give us an example of one of your clients and how you took them through a process.
Yeah, she was one of our first brand up clients ever. And we just rebranded her 10 years later, 3 months ago. So they are a financial services company called Stash Wealth. And when they first came to us in 2014, they were saying they were different and they wanted to be this financial services firm for young 30 somethings, but they came from Merrill Lynch, and their brand and their messaging was just very Merrill Lynch with a little bit of an edge. And so at the time, I said, you're saying you're different, but nothing about this is different because you're not willing to go out on a limb. And so at the time, we implemented all kinds of language like get your financial shit together, which at the time when she said that, she literally had mentors and colleagues calling her saying, you can't say that in our industry. No one's going to take you seriously. And I was in her corner going, you've got to say it because this is how you're showing that you're actually different instead of just saying we're different on a gray and blue Merrill Lynch looking website, but saying we're different, we're different. So she really ran with it. She was incredibly successful with it. And 10 years later, it was time to update the messaging. And so we went from, she used to talk about how she worked with high earners, not rich yet, and talking to people who didn't have their financial shit together. But it's evolved. The landscape has evolved. The clientele has evolved. She has 10 years of data now. So we actually rebranded to make it more sophisticated and speak to 30 somethings who actually have their shit together, and they just want to do this right. They want to be smart about it. They want to have their cake and eat it too. They want to know that they're invested for the future in their retirement, but they also want to live well now. They want to travel. They want to buy houses. They want to do all of these things, and they want to do it without stressing. That's a different take on the same messaging. Both worked at different times for different audiences, and it evolved.
And you have a book. Share with us about the book, and what do you want your readers to take away from it?
So I wrote a book called Badass Your Brand. It's all about how you need to zig when everyone else zags, right? I say, if you tell people you think outside the box, you don't think outside the box. So how can you be unapologetically yourself? How can you repel some people so you can magnetically attract others? How can you, as a business, this is specifically for turning expertise into profit. So anybody who is selling their expertise or services, how can you simplify your business and really own the things that you do and do them very, very well, systematize it so that it's very profitable, so that you're repeating the framework, even if you're doing custom work within your framework. That's the key to scaling up your profit and your freedom and your ease without necessarily hiring a team of employees.
I love that you say repel some to bring others to you, because it's so true. And we get stuck in this cycle of thinking about the things that we need to do and have to do from a tactical standpoint, that we don't always infuse that element of surprise in the way that we should.
Absolutely. And also, a lot of us are people pleasers. So it doesn't feel good when somebody says to you that they don't like something or they don't get it, or you should say something different. I love telling my students, you know what that says to me? They're just not your client. And that's okay. In fact, we actually want people to not be our clients. It's how we know we're doing it well, because as long as some people can say, I would never hire you, that allows the other people to say, you are my person. I couldn't hire anybody else.
When scaling an agency from $30,000 to $50,000 months while reducing workload by 80%, what's one unexpected mindset shift or system you teach that often surprises your community and clients the most?
It comes down to, first of all, selling from the very beginning. So one thing that I suggest to anybody selling expertise is to not write free proposals. I find that that is common practice, but it actually sets the relationship up with the wrong power dynamics from the very beginning. If you're truly an expert and somebody wants to hire you, and the first thing you do is say, well, let me go do a bunch of free work and hopefully be flashy enough or impress you enough that maybe you'll hire me. That's not an expert authority position to come from. So instead, what I recommend is when you're super clear on exactly who you can help the most and you're super clear on your value, instead sell something I call a lead product. It's this first step to working with you. It should be a no-brainer price, but it should help start to solve their problem. So I usually recommend people start selling this somewhere between $250 and $1,000. You sell the lead product. It's an interview. You understand everything about their situation. So you're not just taking what they say at face value. You know, in my industry, some people will come to you and say, I just need a logo. If you ask a bunch of questions, you're going to find out that's never the case. A logo is not going to solve their problem. They may not even need a new logo. They need something that's going to find them clients. And a logo is not going to do that. So you interview them, you really get to know them, and then you write out exactly what your plan is for them with authority and expertise. And what I find is that when you execute this well, not only does the client feel so heard and understood, but they get so much clarity around what their actual needs are. And they build so much trust with you because they see you as the expert who helped them see that. So when they get to the end of this plan, and you say, for me to execute it, it's going to be X $1,000, they're much more primed and open and willing and trusting to say yes to that. And I've actually found people have come to me with, I only have $2,000 and I only need a logo, and purchased a $20,000 package from me because they really needed all of these other things. And once I had that trust and I could show them how much they needed, it was a no-brainer, yes.
Your TED Talk on cultivating confidence resonates with so many. How does confidence play a role in building a successful brand, and how can entrepreneurs build it authentically?
Confidence is something I think everybody wants more of, and there's no quick path to confidence. It's something that's built over time through doing things that frankly are scary and you don't want to do. And a lot of people are not willing to put themselves in that discomfort. But I do find that the more often you try things that you might be worried about, might be fearful of, and see that you live to tell the tale, that you're okay, that even if the worst thing happens, you're still okay, it makes it a little easier to do it the next time. And if you just keep doing that, you will build that confidence. And confidence is key when it comes to selling your services, building a business, because you're going to have to do a lot of things that you're unsure about. And most people aren't willing to do things without a clear, sure outcome. if they don't have any confidence in their own abilities to execute or their own abilities to get back up if they get knocked down. So I don't know how someone builds a business without leaning into building their confidence, because you need it to be successful. I also developed this process because I hated sales, and I hated the moment when I would be on a conversation with a prospect and they would ask me about the price. I would get all sweaty palms and so uncomfortable. This is the moment where I could lose it because I say the wrong price or I scare them away. I don't even know what the price is yet because I don't know what they need. So either I would tell them it depends, or I would ask them what their budget was, neither of which are good answers, by the way. And then I would usually try to push it off and say, tell me more about your budget and tell me more about what you need. And then let me go write a proposal just to buy myself time. And then even when I sent the proposal, I'd be like, oh my God, I hope it's not too much. All of this sucked. All of this feels so stressful and I hated it. So this lead product took all of that pressure off of my shoulders, because now it's just, we're on a fit call. If you're a good fit, I'm like, great. You're the perfect fit. You're exactly who we work with. This is the next step. This is the price. Take it or leave it. I'm not here to sell you anything. If you see the value, you'll buy it. And it actually, people are so much more willing to buy when it's so clear. I developed that kind of out of a necessity and out of my own fear of sales, to be perfectly honest.
It's good that you kept going and you kept pushing forward and you kept saying, okay, how can I do it differently next time, to where you found this model of success?
Yep. It was purely trial and error. But to your point, how can I make this a little bit better? Okay, like I don't like this part. How can I tweak it to work better for me? And believe me, in retrospect, it sounds like a really elegant process. When you're doing it, it's hard and challenging, right? As we all know in business.
Really hard.
Sounds really lovely in retrospect, but at the time it was so much struggling. But I knew that I wanted this to work because I knew I was never going to go work for someone else. So it was this or die. And I finally figured it out.
For someone listening, who is the perfect client for you?
For my agency, and we really only take a couple clients a year now, it's 1 to 3 person service businesses. It's experts who are really good at what they do, but their brand and their online presence doesn't reflect it. And they aren't getting paid what they deserve. They aren't getting paid what they should. It's probably because of how they're positioning their brand and how they're marketing themselves. But these days, most of my time is spent training other 1 to 2 person branding agencies on how to implement this intensives model so that they can be more profitable, have more freedom, scale up in terms of revenue and profit without necessarily hiring a team, by being more efficient. So anybody who's a 1 to 2 person branding agency who finds that those long drawn out projects are just running them ragged, they don't feel like they have control over their business. And that also might be their brand. So we handle all of those things, but those are the people who I'm most excited to work with right now.
And how do you work with them? Do you have a coaching program?
Yeah. So I have a program called No BS Agency Mastery. It's specifically for 1 to 2 person branding agencies who want to scale up to $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 months without employees. And it's all about scaling down and simplifying your offers and how you run your business and your projects in order to scale up that profitability.
Thank you so much for joining us today. Share with us how and where we can find you.
So you can come follow me on Instagram. I'm at Pia Loves Your Biz, B-I-Z. I'm also on LinkedIn a lot, Pia Silva. And I brought your listeners a little gift. I actually took the exclusive rights of my audiobook back from Audible and I put it up on a free feed. So if you want to grab that, you can go to nobsagencies.com/shebuiltit. And you can grab the audiobook and you kind of hear the specifics of how we went from $40,000 in debt to $500,000 in revenue, just the two of us using this model.
Thank you for joining us today. I'd love to hear from you. Reach out to me at hello@shebuiltit.com, on our She Built It website, or at She Built It on social. Thank you to my editor, Rich Streffolino, who always makes us sound good. Until next time, let nothing stop you from experiencing the life and business that you crave.